You join us here today with the heavily updated 2026 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. The Grand Wagoneer joins us here for the 2026 model year with a lot of changes. Gone is the Wagoneer, and now the entire lineup is now Grand Wagoneer. It starts in the low $60,000 range and can go well over the $90,000 and even $100,000 range in top specifications. But compared to the old pure Grand Wagoneer, this one is significantly cheaper, and now you get that Grand Wagoneer nameplate across the lineup. We're also getting a bold new fascia, some minor interior changes, and a new powertrain for the entire lineup as well. But there's also some things that are going to be coming down the road that we are really excited for. And this is super exciting for us because this is the first time we've been able to drive the Wagoneer / Grand Wagoneer lineup on the channel. So as always, we're going to take you on a full in-depth tour and review of this 2026 updated Grand Wagoneer here in the Limited Altitude spec. We're going to see all the cool unique features, some things we like, some things we wish could be changed, and whether you should consider one of these massive full-size SUVs over the hot competitors like the Chevrolet Tahoe, the GMC Yukon, the Ford Expedition, and even some newcomers such as the updated Nissan Armada or even Infiniti QX80. Let's go dive in. Now, surprisingly, there's actually quite a lot of stuff going on under the hood for this 2026 Grand Wagoneer, even though there's only one engine option, but it's not completely unknown. This is the very well-known, actually, 3-liter twin turbocharged inline six, aka the Hurricane inline six, in the standard output format. And in this particular case, the only engine option you can currently get for the 2026 model year is this engine. Makes 420 horsepower, around 468 pound-feet of torque, is paired to an updated ZF 8-speed automatic gearbox, and it's really capable. It can tow still up around 10,000 pounds, and it does okay, I would say, on fuel economy, 19 combined, 23 on the highway. So that's not incredibly bad. And I have to say, despite how large this vehicle is, and yes, there's still the L version of this vehicle you can get, which is even bigger, this is a potent powertrain. But I do have to mention, pre-facelifted versions of the Grand Wagoneer had quite a lot of engine options. Everything from the 5.7-liter Hemi, I believe the larger Hemi was available at one point, as well as the high output version of this engine was available, I believe, in 2025. So it's kind of been flip-flopping back and forth, but now for 2026, this is your only choice. Coming soon will be the 4xe variant, which will be a range extended electric vehicle shared with the Ram 1500 REV, and that is essentially going to be a battery pack, a huge battery pack, around 90 kilowatt hours, and a gas motor generator that does not directly power the wheels. So we're going to be really excited for that vehicle once it comes. It may even tow more than this. We'll have to wait and see on that, and we're definitely going to see some impressive range figures. But this also gets impressive range, well over 500 miles on a full tank. I believe it's a well over a 26-gallon fuel tank as well. It's pretty high up there, but overall, very pleasant powertrain. It's refined in this case. It's smooth. I have zero complaints over the course of this week. So great job, Jeep, on making a strong and potent powertrain for the 2026 Grand Wagoneer. Now, the biggest story with the 2026 Grand Wagoneer is that the design is heavily updated, as is the model lineup. But let's talk about this new front fascia first. Before, we had the Wagoneer fascia, and then there was the Grand Wagoneer fascia, which looked a little bit more upscale, a little bit more premium. This is totally different and is the common fascia you're going to find throughout the entire Grand Wagoneer lineup. It's made up of this very distinctive front light bar design over here that has these 7 slots in this sort of faux grille-esque shape over here. I think it looks really great and very distinctive. It sets itself apart much stronger than the pre-facelifted version did, but this also carries down to the lower bumper section as well. We're getting these very large and distinctive daytime running light pieces over here in this sort of T-shaped design, which I think looks quite good. And over here we have a large opening section for our grille. This one is getting the heavy-duty towing package, so we actually are getting these nice recovery hooks, and depending on what trim you get, you may get even some more additional kind of maybe or off-road style accessories. This is definitely more on-road specification. What's also new is this badging. So no longer is it going to say Wagoneer or Grand Wagoneer on the hood. It says Jeep once again. Before, there were no Jeep logos really on the exterior. That whole product structure has changed for this 2026 model year. It's now a Jeep Grand Wagoneer, not a Grand Wagoneer by Jeep, if that makes any more sense. This paint is also really gorgeous, actually. This is a silver paint option. It looks great in the sunshine, lots of nice metallic flake, and you have quite a lot of paint options as well. There's this really gorgeous kind of pebble blue. But the regular old design of this Grand Wagoneer on the side profile is the same. We have those really tall, large, very monolithic style windows on the side. The rear generally looks the same. We do have an updated taillight design for this 2026 model year as well, so that's quite nice. And they all do a pretty cool light animation when turning on and off the vehicle. Since we have a sort of altitude level package, we are getting blacked out side mirrors, blacked out roof rails, blacked out trim and badging. Even the wheels are all blacked out as well for this particular one. I believe this is actually the only wheel option you can get on this particular Grand Wagoneer as well. These are rocking Pirelli Scorpion rubber on here, and these are these really nice black wheels. They're 22 inches, so they're up there in size for sure, but I really don't think they have any sort of compromise to the entire suspension system. This one's rocking the regular coil spring suspension. It is an independent style suspension, which is really great. And you know what? You can optionally get that Quadralift air suspension with adaptive damping. This is a great standard suspension. This rides so well, actually. I would love to be experiencing that Quadralift because I've heard it's even more impressive than this was already as standard. So really great things on the exterior for the 2026 Grand Wagoneer. Let's go check out the rest of this vehicle. Now out in the back of the Grand Wagoneer, it looks pretty nice. And then once again, we're gonna see that there's the different badging now. It says Jeep instead of Wagoneer or Grand Wagoneer. And the cargo space in this vehicle is truly crazy. So I'll open up our power tailgate here. And I think this is really one of the main highlights of this Grand Wagoneer. And one of the things that surprised me this week is actually not only how big is it on the inside, but how nice everything actually really feels. So back here we have this really nice premium carpeting on this particular one that has stitching around it. The load floor is generally quite low. If you go for the air suspension, I believe you can lower this even further. But behind this third row, I believe there's like 27 cubic feet of cargo space, which is really good for behind a third row. And again, you can always upgrade to the L variant if you would like to go even bigger. Let's see if there's anything hiding underneath the floor. We do have a little opener here, and that's going to reveal some minor storage. We actually have the roof cross rails that are stored in this little cubby area right here. There is a cargo net as well that's not up, as well as a cargo cover that you can actually install that's folded up in this little bag as well, which is quite nice. We do have some nice toe or kind of tie down points over here as well, and a whole bunch of power seat options. So we can actually fold down our third row as well. And I believe the second row as well via these buttons over here. There's also a 12 volt cigarette style socket as well. So lots of great storage solutions in this behind the third row. And of course, fold that third row down, you're gonna get even more space, and you can fold down our second row's captain's chairs to unlock a quite wild amount of cargo room. I'll put all the exact details for you guys up over here just so we can have those. But massive storage space aside, we have to talk about the interior of this Grand Wagoneer because it is very, very nice to spend time in. Let's go hop inside. Okay, the time has come to go check out the third row now of the Grand Wagoneer. Nothing really has changed in this department, but it's still absolutely colossal. We don't have a full 90-degree door opening, but it is pretty close. This one does have these powered running boards as well, which are really nice. And just check out this little boxy portion over here. This could be even longer if you go for the L. We have a quick little look at our captain's chairs in this particular one, but we're gonna go hop into the third row. So since we have captain's chairs, yes, I can hop right through that center portion, but if you didn't have the captain's chairs, I'll show you what this looks like here. We have a little button here that's gonna make our seat go forward. Should launch itself forward pretty easily, and I can push it forward and finish up the job. But let's go check out those third row seats. So hopping inside, we have a stair here. We can push our seat a little bit more forward to get easy access to this third row here, which is absolutely colossally huge. I'm gonna pull the seat back, all the way back here, and wow. Yeah, this is a huge third row. And again, you can get a bigger Grand Wagoneer. So we have amenities back here, guys. So we actually have our own USB-A and USB-C port. We have seat recline, power reclining for the third row, our own air vent over here, a cup holder that has grips in it, which is really nice, and a storage cubby, on top of having this massive rear window. So a lot of amenities. We even have a coat hanger hook back here, our own LED light, and of course, our own sunroof that has a mini shade that we can manually operate in the back seats, which is absolutely awesome. You can even actually adjust these seats via these buttons over here. So you have a lot of options to do so. And the space in here is, well, huge. I have so much legroom. I'm a 6 foot tall adult and I can fit back here absolutely perfectly. No issues whatsoever. This seat, I believe, is all the way back. So I guess I can hop over here to really give you a real world application, and it still is completely fine. Heck, I could actually fit 3 people in this third row completely fine. It is that huge. So yeah, no complaints back here. And even the other side passenger also gets their own USB-C and USB-A port and reclining. And these seats are the same nice cushy leather that we're going to get throughout the Grand Wagoneer. In this particular one here, these headrests can actually be folded down via the infotainment system, as can the second row ones. So if they're blocking your field of view, you can get rid of them really easily here. And really nice construction of the seats. And this one has the fam cam, so whoever's driving or up front can access this camera and check on all passengers in the vehicle. Especially if you have kids, this could be useful. So of course, yes, I could walk through here and get out, or I can just press this button right here. The seat will launch forward and I can hop out very, very easily. And let's go check out this second row captain's chair section of the Grand Wagoneer. Let's go check out that second row now. And what I really like about the Grand Wagoneer is the door handles have keyless access on all 4 doors, and they have the same nice sound as the Jeep Grand Cherokee we just had when closing them. Have a listen to this. Really like that a lot. Now this one is getting an upgraded interior premium package here. So we have the global black Napa leather everywhere, including on the door panel over here, which is really nice. We have this metal looking trim. I don't think it is metal, but I wish it was. That would really elevate this a lot, but it looks and feels okay. This upper portion is soft touch as well. And we have large door cubbies on the lower section over here for like water bottles and stuff, and this Macintosh speaker system. Of course, we saw the running boards before, but we're also getting these upgraded premium floor mats. So we have this really deep pile carpet. It actually feels very premium. They have these metal end caps here and stitching. I don't know why. This is a very subtle touch, but it helps to elevate this interior quite a lot. Stepping inside is pretty easy. You have these optional side steps here. Shut up the door. Nice solid thunk there. And have a look at this second row now in the Grand Wagoneer. I have reclining seats, so I'm going to pull my seat back so we can see actually what's going on back here. And yes, we have the rear entertainment package in this particular Grand Wagoneer, so I can turn on the screen here for you just like that. I personally don't think you need this. I would just got like a tablet holder here for your kids, but you have all of this stuff in here. It's built-in Fire TV. You can plug in an HDMI port. You have a USB-C port built in and a headphone jack. And there's some really fun features in here that are other than just streaming. You can press Jeep here, for example, and if you're using the built-in navigation, they have an "Are we there yet?" button there. Door panels are pretty nice. We're actually missing the power or manual sunshade. I believe you can get is an option. This one does not have it. Huge door panel, though, a lot of space. It feels pretty premium. We have this upper light in here. We're also getting a coat hanger hook as well as a grab handle. And of course, you can check out up here this massive panoramic glass roof. So in our center console area over here, we are getting our own climate systems as well. So I can turn this on just like this. The captain's chairs are indeed heated, which is very nice as well. I believe they could maybe be cooled in some upper trims. We have a little storage cubby over here as well as this nice 115 volt, 150 watt AC outlet, 2 USB-C ports, 2 USB-A ports, an additional 12 volt socket, and more storage, 2 large cup holders over here that have grips in them so things don't fly around. The seats themselves are incredibly comfortable, actually. Lots of great cushion in this black leather. Again, these headrests can be folded from the infotainment system. We have these leather stitched armrests over here, which are super squishy. Yeah, this is a top tier back seat, really nice. So let's go check out the front and see if there's anything new for this 2026 model year. Getting inside, again, pretty easy with a side step here. Nice door thunk. Inside the Grand Wagoneer, let's start it up. We have our start stop button in a very familiar place. We'll put our foot on the brake and let's turn it on. And it comes to life for us nice and quick here. Lots of chimes, but this is a very familiar space, and honestly, it's a pretty decently nice space. Even for a standard equipment, this one is not. It has a few upgrades, which we'll get to in just a second here, but overall, I've been impressed. So steering wheel is on the nicer side. We have this leather trimmed steering wheel over here, which is pretty cool. Single spokes design. Our left-hand side is giving us controls for our very familiar digital cluster, similar to what we're going to find in the other Stellantis products. So we have this kind of card style design over here, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but you can go to a regular style here, change your gauge cluster just like this. And there are so many screens in here that you can just endlessly kind of choose through. We have music, we have a trailer tow screen, we have our terrain modes, which brings up every kind of information screen, and it gets even more intense. We even have a map view as well, and a whole bunch of other stuff from trip computers to engine data. You can really choose whatever you want. So you have a lot of options in this area. We have, I would say, not the best feeling turnstile. These feel very cheap and hollow, unfortunately. I said this in the other Stellantis products. I wish they could have fixed that, but the rest of the space is really nice. The dashboard construction is one of my favorite pieces over here. This is like stitched leather over here, this cool kind of wraparound portion. Even the air vents have a nice design to them. The whole upper dash as well is stitched and feels very premium. So I do appreciate that. You can even get this touch right over there, which is nice. Some of the components could be a little bit better put together maybe, but the materials are feeling quite nice. Lots of physical buttons over here. Same thing for our headlights, which is great to see. We do have a heads-up display on this one as well, which is really huge. Actually, it kind of takes up a lot of your plane of view. Not the most amount of information there, but I think it's totally fine. The rest of this interior, though, is kind of insanely massive. This entire center console piece over here is huge. This piece over here is stitched. I wish it was a little bit softer. So if you are resting your knee here, it might be a little bit on the harder side, but thankfully these armrests over here, which are stitched in leather, have some squish to them, which is really nice. And we have so many layers of storage in here, which I really think is cool. So we can open up this upper portion over here, which is going to reveal a USB-C and a USB-A port, and actually goes all the way back here, which is pretty crazy. So it's actually quite deep of a section, felt lined. You can close this up. This is like this brushed metal appearance trim. I don't think it's real metal. It doesn't feel like real metal. I wish it was. That kind of would have made this interior even nicer, actually. But opening up this center console piece over here, we're gonna find a massive amount of space, like really, really big. There's no charging solutions in here, unfortunately, but we do have one of the remote controls for our rear entertainment system back there, which is pretty funny. But yeah, that's a huge amount of storage space, and it gets even bigger. So opening up this panel over here, we have two cup holders in here, which are really huge, have some nice grips to them, and even some side storage over here as well, which is really great. But yeah, the storage doesn't end there, as we can open up this panel now, which is going to reveal this massive cubby that's also hiding three USB-C ports, 3 USB-A ports, an auxiliary cord, and a 12-volt socket, in addition to a ventilated wireless charger. What more could you need? This is crazy. And we even have 2 hidden phone holders here with rubber mats, so if you don't have to wirelessly charge it. This is a great use of space here. And if you go for the upgraded variants, this actually turns into a climate touchscreen panel that also adjusts your massage, which this one does not have. We also are missing the passenger screen. Instead, we got the stitched leather portion. Thank God. I am not a fan of the passenger screens. I think this looks way cleaner. We have some nice white ambient lighting in here. Upgraded models, I believe, get color changeable ambient lighting. You may be wondering, why is this screen off right now? Well, I just turned it off so I can clean it, actually, and I can show you this cool startup screen we get when turning it on. This has not really changed, and honestly, that's completely fine. This is actually a pretty decently sized touchscreen display, and we are keeping the physical climate buttons over here. So we have all these nice physical climate buttons. It is gloss black, which, you know, gets a little fingerprinty and dusty, but I'm glad we have those. I like these switches over here for our volume knob. They have a really nice feel to them, which is nice. We do have these haptic touch keys over here for our heated seats as well as ventilated seats. I really don't like this zone thing. I don't like how it always is red, because if I'm in my ventilated seat, I may think my heated seat may still be on, but it's not. It just adjusts the zone of where you want the ventilation. So if you have your heated seat on, it looks like your heated seat is on like super max there, but it's really just your zones, which is kind of funny. And these are not the nicest, I would say, backlit buttons here. It kind of looks like they're not fully illuminated from some angles. I wish they could address that, actually, but this screen is pretty good. It's the classic Uconnect system. The home button and main icons are on the bottom versus the side, as we've seen in some other Stellantis vehicles. It's quick to the touch. We have our interior climate panel here. We have Apple CarPlay, that's wireless, Android Auto, which is wireless. I've had no connectivity issues with those, which is really great. We also are getting a rear view camera, no 360 camera on this particular one. It's another package that for some reason our tester does not have. Not the biggest fan of this camera. It's a little bit low resolution, actually. I wish they could upgrade that for the price point of this vehicle here. And we can also fold down the third and second row headrests actually in this vehicle as well. And again, we also have a whole set of these panels over here that are covered in this gloss black material, which I don't like, but this is an interesting panel design. We have our middle shifter over here that does illuminate at night, which is, I think, really nice. And I love how it actually locks out when you go to drive, so you can't turn it anymore, which I think is pretty cool, so you're not just spinning it around. We do have a low range button over here, which is a haptic button, as well as a sort of like hill descent style off-road cruise control system there, which is pretty nice as well. So this is easy to adjust our drive modes. We have a sport, auto, snow, sand, mud, and rock. This will all adjust all of our four-wheel drive systems here. We also have these haptic buttons as well that are pretty interesting, have a sound. So I'm going to turn off our auto stop start. And we have a lane keep assist. Interesting kind of digital haptic feedback sound there, which is kind of cool. We are also getting a glove box, which is shockingly small, actually, and is rather some harder, cheap plastics compared to the rest of the interior. But thankfully, we have so much other space in here. You're not really going to worry about that. This one is lacking the digital rear view mirror. That's, again, part of a package that would have gotten us a 360 camera. I think that's an essential in such a large vehicle, especially if you have kids in the third row all the time. Definitely makes it easier to see out. We do have HomeLink integrated into our visor over here, a sunglass holder up here, which is felt lined, thankfully, and all of our controls for our main panoramic glass roof, some really nice bright interior lights, and thankfully these massive sun visors can pretty much cover the entire window, which I think is great. I've been impressed this week with the seat comfort, the overall leather comfort, and just materials in here are really nice. There are some cheaper plastics, and it's a little unfortunate that you have to pay even more to actually get, 360 cameras and all that stuff. But you can go even higher on the tier and get, like I said, the massaging seats, even nicer leather, more screens, and all that stuff. So overall, pretty nice. Some things could be a little bit nicer maybe, but I was actually impressed with how nice it was on first impressions this week of driving. Speaking of driving, let's go hop on the road and see how this handles. Now, one of the things I would say that's been most surprising driving this Grand Wagoneer this week is that it is way smoother and way more comfortable than I was expecting. And not only is it smoother and more comfortable than I was expecting, it's way easier to drive. Brakes are really great as well. They remind me a lot of the Grand Cherokee, or maybe even a Ram in that sense, which this shares quite a lot with. And driving around town is fantastic. It is a huge car, but it doesn't feel that big. The steering is direct, not too light, not too heavy. Really don't have any complaints with it. And my favorite thing is we got a sport mode. Hop into sport mode right here. It actually turns off traction control, and this updated ZF 8-speed with this engine, and yeah, it may not be the 540 horsepower that you can get in like a 2025, but it is still quick. It is not a slouch, it's not slow, and it definitely gets up to speed very, very quickly. So you never really have to worry about that. Here, let's get into traffic here. That's about 50% throttle right there. So yeah, lots and lots of low end, deep down torque in this. This thing's actually really quick. The sport mode holds the gears, as you can see right there. There's no paddle shifters for you, but that is not the kind of vehicle that this is whatsoever. So if you do need to get up and go in a little bit more of a hurry, you can pop it into sport mode real quick. Otherwise, in auto mode, I think it's totally fine. This is a really refined powertrain. I could not say the same about the Jeep Grand Cherokee we just tested, the 2026 that has the Hurricane 4-cylinder. The 6-cylinder, though, is amazing. I wish they applied the same transmission and engine tuning to that 4-cylinder that they did here, because it was just so smooth here. We do have auto stop start. It may not do it right now, but we can deactivate that with this haptic touch panel down here. Wow. Yeah, this thing moves way quicker than you may expect for such a large, heavy SUV. I believe 0 to 60 happens in around the 5.5 to 6 second range. Now, also with this package of Grand Wagoneer we're currently getting, we also have a heads-up display, and you may notice it's not on right now because this is a rare situation for me who does like heads-up displays. I think it's too big. Look how large this thing is. I'm sure it's not completely coming across on camera for y'all, but this is one of the largest heads-up displays I have ever seen, just in terms of it taking up so much of your view. Normally you have such a large view of this Grand Wagoneer, and yeah, maybe the window's a little bit not tall on that aspect, but when you throw in this heads-up display here, and just because I think how large the icons are, it really does kind of eat into your visibility, and honestly is a little distracting. So I've actually been driving it off this week without that heads-up display, which is kind of shocking. You can adjust the brightness from our digital cluster here, and you can just turn it off with the touch of a button. This one does not have the full radar adaptive hands-free style system. It just has more traditional radar adaptive cruise control with the steering assist, lane keep assist style functions. So many names for all of these systems nowadays, but it's honestly pretty good. I did really like the hands-free style system we had in the Jeep Grand Cherokee we just took on a road trip, but this just works, I would say, like 90% there. It's just that extra 10% of that hands-free capability that this particular Grand Wagoneer Limited Altitude does not get in this current configuration. And to activate it, it's pretty simple. All you got to do is press your cruise control button on the right hand side of the steering wheel. Adaptive cruise control is prepared and ready. Oh, what is this Kia Soul doing? And we shall turn it on for a second. So we just set our speed there, and we press the little center icon, which gives us our hands or kind of steering assist here. But it does have that hands-on icon, which means it's not a hands-free system. We're on a pretty tight, tiny highway right now, not a full 3-lane highway, and it works pretty well. It's even worked on some side roads here, which is pretty nice to see. It holds the lanes really well. It is a touch-based steering wheel, so you always have to apply some sort of touch to it, and that warning will go away. So you see it'll turn red for you in a second, but it works really well. So how does such a large, big SUV handle on a highway? Surprisingly well. Now, if you're on a small highway like this, you may feel like you're taking up the entire road, which you sort of kind of are, but it's more tall, I would say, than wide feeling, and I think that makes it a little bit more manageable. The ride is fantastic. You can optionally get a Quadrilift air suspension with, I believe, an adaptive damping system that's paired to it. We don't have that. We just have the regular coil spring suspension, and since this is derived from the Ram 1500's body-on-frame architecture, which we think is probably one of the best, if not the best, riding pickup trucks on the market right now in that class, this is no exception. It rides so well. We've been in all the vehicles of this class, from the GMC Yukon to the Tahoe to even the new Navigator and the Armada, and they all do a good job these days at kind of masking a little bit of their body on frame nature underneath their architecture here. This one does a fantastic job at doing it. So it's right at the top, and this is not even the air suspension. I really don't get any sort of like frame jittering or unnecessary movements at all. It does a really good job soaking up bumps, not really kind of reverberating it into me as a passenger or driver or two passengers as well. I think that's a really nice aspect to this Grand Wagoneer, and shockingly, it feels a little bit more nimble than you may expect for such a large vehicle. I don't know how they did it, but it can honestly take a large corner relatively stable and smooth, which is quite nice to see. Speaking of said corner, let's go around this one right now. And it holds its own. This is absolutely not what you want to do in a Grand Wagoneer. But if you come into this situation, this thing can hustle around. The power out of a corner is monstrous with this twin turbo inline 6. Steering wheel shape is totally fine as well. Really no complaints there. A very familiar shape to other Stellantis products nowadays. Good grip points. Material feels nice. It is heated as well, which is great. And again, you really do feel like you're in control of this thing at all times. I never feel like it's too loose or I'm gonna lose control of said such a large vehicle, which, you know, I can't say for every vehicle in this large SUV class. Specifically, and it may not be a direct competitor, is the Escalade IQL and those large General Motors electric vehicles from the pickup trucks to the Escalade, for example. They just feel so unsettled, so tall, such a large amount of mass on the roads. And yes, it's actually almost like double the weight, I think, of this car actually, which is quite horrifying to think about. But those did not feel very nice to drive. They felt like they're wobbly, they're lifting up. I felt like I didn't have a lot of connection to the tires, but this totally different. I think this is actually quite nice to drive around. So if you are considering something in this class of vehicle with the Tahoe, the Escalade, the Armada even, all this stuff, you definitely got to give this Grand Wagoneer a look. I think it looks fresher than ever with this new fascia they put on it. The taillights have been kind of reimagined, and I genuinely mean this. Oh, there's a very nice NSX over there. I genuinely mean that this actually surprised me this week in terms of being comfortable, easier to drive than I was expecting, quicker than I was expecting, and this wasn't even the biggest, most powerful powertrain that this vehicle could have gotten in the past. So all good things to see. I haven't had any issues this week. I only drive it for 1 week, these vehicles at a time, so I can't really attest to long-term reliability, but it's incredibly spacious. It looks sharp, feels nice, really good general build quality. It's comfortable. I don't know what else there is much to complain about. There's a lot of competitors out there you got to cross shop with, but you got to give the Grand Wagoneer a look, especially if you're a little bit hesitant in the past. I think they've addressed quite a lot of things in this updated 2026 model. As always, guys, thank you for joining me on yet another drive over at Allcarnews, and of course, stay tuned for more coming soon. Cheers.